Hey everyone, it's Keegan again, and this will be speech 6 for the Ron Paul Curriculum Public Speaking course. I plan on making this speech noticeably shorter than last week's, and I am again going to summarize a story. This time, because I wanted something short and sweet, I'm going to summarize a well-known fairy tale by the name Little Red Riding Hood. This is the original, and it might be slightly different than the one you've heard because it was definitely different than the one I'm used to. So it starts off with a little girl. She is described as being loved by everyone, but more than anyone, her grandmother. One day when Red was a child, her grandmother gave her a red velvet cap. This is where she earned the name Little Red Riding Hood because she wore it everywhere she went. One day, her mother gave her a basket containing a piece of cake and a bottle of wine, which is probably why the story has been altered a little for school. She told her these items would help her ill grandmother and advised her to set out before it got hot. She also warned her to go slow and stay on the path so she didn't drop the goods. The grandmother lived out in the woods, and as soon as Red entered the woods, she was confronted by a wolf. Now, Red didn't think much of him and was not afraid, so the two casually engaged in conversation. While speaking, she accidentally revealed the location of grandmother to the wolf, and the wolf begins to think to himself how he needed to be cautious and what he needed to do in order to eat the both of them. Now, the wolf distracted Little Red by getting her to look at the flowers. She decided there was time to gather flowers for her grandmother and tapered off the path. The wolf took this chance to rush to the grandmother's as fast as he could. Upon arriving, the wolf opened the latch and devoured the grandmother, wasting no time in the process. He dressed in her clothes and laid back in bed. By this time, Red had remembered her mission and set back on the path. She arrived to grandmother's shortly after with an uneasy feeling on her stomach. When she arrived, the door was still cracked open. This was unusual. She said good morning and pulled back the curtains, where she saw grandmother with a hat covering her face. Now, this is the part of the story that I remember, and I'm sure everyone else remembers. They begin to engage in conversation, and the conversation goes, "Oh, grandmother," she said, "what big ears you have." "The better to hear you with, my child," was the reply. "But grandmother, what big eyes you have," she said, "the better to see you with, my dear." "But grandmother, what large hands you have, the bigger to hug you with." "Oh, but grandmother, what terrible big mouth you have, the better to eat you with." After this, it gets a little gruesome, to say the least, so I'll keep it short and I won't go into the details. After this, the wolf eats Little Red and engages into a nap. And shortly after, a hunter stumbles upon him, and I'm sure you can guess where this goes. He saw the wolf in bed, and luckily he was smart enough to think that grandmother might be inside. And he helps him out, to say the least. After this, they all are safe, and they live happily ever after. So thank you for listening to my sixth speech for the Ron Paul Curriculum Public Speaking course, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment telling me what I can work on and how I can improve. Thank you very much.